First thing, everybody that's young, I want you up front. So all young brothers by the wall, shake your spots. If you're older, your beards are white, khalas, you can have the wall. But young guys, I don't want them by the wall. And I don't want anybody stretching their feet out. Alright, this is right? So, young brothers, I want you up front. The younger ones, I want you really up front. Alright, come on up, come on up. I'm gonna wait for you, don't worry. There's room here. I don't want to see carpet. I want to see people. There's room here on my left for the young guys. Come on down. You're going to be famous today. The malaika are going to write down your names. And if I see anybody whispering or on their phone, I'm going to call you out right in the middle of the talk. Wallahi, I'll do it. I'm not kidding. The brothers that were in Jum'ah today, you know, both khutub, I called people out today. So don't think that I won't. I don't really care about being invited back, all right? So don't worry about it. All right, so one of the things we lack is etiquette. And that's one thing beautiful about Sheikh Ibrahim and Sheikh Karim, that we learn from them, the etiquettes of knowledge. So for the person speaking, it doesn't matter who they are. Right? Like, it's not the person speaking that's important. It's the subject that's important. Right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being mentioned, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being mentioned, when the Salaf al-Salihin are being described, when qala Allah wa qala Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is being mentioned, then out of respect for the subject, we must sit with proper etiquettes. So we don't sit, Snapchatting or leaning on stuff. I mean, stuff's being broadcasted online, so if you want to post it, you can do it later. We pay attention. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything that you do, whether it's you give money or you spend your time or you could be doing other things, all of it, your ajr is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was not the talk yet, sorry. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala khatam al-anbiya ashraf al-mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in amma ba'd. When we talk about knowledge, and these are nights of knowledge, there is something very important that we miss. And I don't really prepare talks usually, I don't really prep what I'm going to talk about, but whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of puts in front of you, it makes me speak. And I saw a dream, because I didn't get a lot of sleep. I was on the plane, right when the plane was landing, I was falling asleep, but then they landed like in 5 minutes. So I was like, you could have taken longer that time. And from it, I thought about something, and that's what I'm going to speak about today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with knowledge. I mean, every one of us knows some knowledge, some more than others. Some memorize the whole Quran, some memorize tafsir, some memorize ahadith, some learn fiqh. But what we forget is knowledge requires a strong container. Because at times, when the container is not strong, the knowledge will break it. It will not be able to contain the knowledge. One of my shuyukh, may Allah have mercy on him, and may Allah protect him, he's alive. He said, for knowledge to be beneficial, you have to have purity of what is being served and purity in what is being received. Meaning, if somebody is very eloquent and a person of taqwa and a person of Quran and hadith and great, and he is giving you pure, beautiful, authentic knowledge, but your hearts are corrupted, your minds are corrupted, your niyyah is wrong, then it's like beautiful, halal, tasty food being put into a dish filled with najasa. If you had a plate and there was poop on it, and I put really great Hyderabadi biryani in it, are you going to eat it? You're going to, what, you guys sleep already? And then it was that boring. Are you going to eat it? I'm in Chicago. No. A little late, but okay. If I put beautiful, good, would you eat? If the food is rotten but your dish is clean, then what? Still no. The food has to be good, the plate has to be good. So knowledge is something beneficial, but Quran is lak or alayk. It's either for you or against you. In our time, we see a lot of people selling out the religion for fame, selling out the religion for money, selling out the religion because of pressures of being afraid of being cancelled. Oh, I don't want to sit with this sheikh, and if I share a platform with this sheikh, then what? Some people, it's literally scholars for dollars, right? Like they'll actually get bought out. Some people, it's a little more, it's a little more, like I was speaking to somebody, I'm not going to mention their name, and they said, you know what? We were discussing issues of aqaid, of istawa, and wajh, and yad, and he said, you know what? I agree with everything. But and they didn't think, what will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala think of me? But because of the people, they sell out the religion. Now, in Islam, the muluk, from the aghniya, from the wealthy, rich ballers, from the great warriors, generals, from the everybody put together, shuyukh, who biggest janaza in the history of Islam? This is my dramatic pause. I heard the answer already, but I want to hear it from the shabab. Imam Ahmad ibn, not the muluk of the Umayyah, or Abbasiyya, or the Uthmaniyya, all those people, out of all, the biggest janaza, the Zahabi and others gave around 2 million people plus. Now this is a time without planes, without trains, without cars. It's easy to gather big numbers. At that time you would have to move. Cities weren't that big. They said around 60,000 kuffar became Muslim at his janazah, from seeing that janazah. This was a man who was not a king. This was a man who had no influence of worldly wealth or worldly status to share. But he had the biggest janazah in the history of Islam. So who was he? Of course, if we spoke about him, we could do a series for a month and not complete his works in hadith and his works in rijal and his standing up. But I'm going to talk about one aspect, because we talk about knowledge and we talk about purity and authentic knowledge based on Quran and Sunnah and the way of the Salaf al-Ummah and sticking true to it. So I'm going to talk about one aspect. In the time of the Khilafah Abbasiyya, after Harun al-Rashid, there was Ma'mun. And at that time, the Mu'tazila was a group. You know who's the Mu'tazila? Huh? Who's the Mu'tazila? They said the Quran is makhluk. What's the big deal? Like if we have disagreements on issues, sometimes we say, okay, the one who's tariq of salah is kafir, and somebody says not kafir unless it's kusulan and muta'ammidan and so on. What's the big deal? But it is a big deal. Because what is perfect? Al-Khaliq. Is makhluk perfect? Never. We have shortcomings. Al-Khaliq, the creator, is perfect. Everything from him is perfect, preserved, no doubt. Right? Us, the creation, we have shortcomings. We fail, we try, right? So when you went down this path of mantiq, of ilm al-kalam, of falsafa, of philosophy, instead of staying to the path of athar, of the evidences, the path of the Quran, the path of the Sunnah, the path of the Salaf al-Ummah, when they started to go toward this path of philosophy and so on, then this idea developed amongst the Mu'tazila. And the Mu'tazila, why did I tell you guys in the beginning to stand up and come forward and sit properly? Because the Mu'tazila began because of a lack of etiquette. It's interesting. Sheikh AbuZaid, he has a book, I highly suggest, if you haven't studied it, you should. It's called 𝙀𝙢𝙖𝙞𝙀. It's the etiquettes of how to seek knowledge. So it talks about how that affects the knowledge. Wasil, he was somebody who was in the dars of Hassan al-Basri. And somebody asked the question, what about the one who does big sins and dies on this? What will they go to Jannah or Jahannam? Now, the etiquette is the sheikh that's speaking, the one that's being asked the question answers it. And nowadays, even today, a lot of times people will say, I have a question, and it'll be a comment. It's not a question if you're already giving me an answer, right? Or somebody will ask a question, somebody else will get up and be like, I know it. Brother, if they wanted to ask you, they would have asked you. So stay quiet, let the one who's being asked answer. So here, before Hassan al-Basri could answer, Wasil, he responded, and because of that he said, i'tizal, he left from us. Mu'tazila started, because he didn't wait for Hassan al-Basri to answer. He said, no, it will be in a place between Jannah and Jahannam, which is wrong. So we have to have this kind of good etiquette. So the Mu'tazila, they went to aqal ala al-naqal. Today, sometimes we get a brother who's a doctor, mashallah. And I know many of you are doctors, so no. If you are a pediatrician, right? Go take care of kids, right? If you're a gynecologist, do what you do, right? No need for you to give us fatwas. Leave that for the shuyukh, the ones that have studied, the ones that have spent their lifetime in Quran and Sunnah. But somebody, brother, I'm a dentist, and wallahi, the tafsir of this ayah, in my opinion, brother, go take care of a root canal, Nobody asked you to give tafsir of the ayah, right? So, in Islam, what do we have? We have naqal. We follow whatever the Quran said, whatever is established from the Mustafa alayhi salatu salam, the way the Sahaba and the great Amma from the first generation took it, we just follow that. That's not our aqal. We don't say, and to me it makes more sense if, you use the right hand and the left hand and the left hand. No. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Kul bi yaminik, eat with your right hand. Khalas. We eat with the right hand. That's it. Why? What's the daleel? The daleel is the hadith. We don't fast because it's good for you. Of course, fasting is good for you. But that's not why we fast. We fast because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. We have ordained upon you fasting. That's it. Right? So here, the Mu'tazila, these people, even when these people have studied mantiq, I'm a great mantiqi. What Sahabi studied mantiq? This ilm al-kalam and stuff. Why do we say that this is stuff that, at minimum, it starts to take you away from that which the Sahaba were upon. And this is the problem, when you have this unchecked, not everybody will end up in the same destination, but this is what we see from the Mu'tazila, that they started to say that in our aqal, how can the Quran be from Allah and it's something we recite and this, and instead of going back to what, like Imam al-Bukhari wrote a book on this and so on, instead of going back to that, they said no, the Quran is makhluk. And they got Ma'mun to make that the official aqidah. Now, imagine this. The Khalifa of the time orders the Muslim Ummah to hold this view. And whoever doesn't will be put to a trial. They will either be killed, and many ulama were made shuhada, insha'Allah. And at that time, many of them, they were killed for standing firm on the aqeedah of Islam. And many others fled. Imam Shafi'i, for example, the great scholar, the great faqih, the great alim, the great imam, when he saw that this was coming, he left. He went to Egypt. Other great imam and ulama, they left. They made hijrah. They didn't sell out the aqeedah, but they left. And many great a'imma of jarh wa ta'deel, and a'imma of fiqh and hadith, and a'imma of tafsir, they said the Quran is makhluk even though they didn't believe it, just to protect their life. And the Sharia, you have jawaz, protection of life. So now this is what I was talking about, why knowledge requires a strong container. Only two men were left to stand firm: Muhammad bin Nuh and Ahmad ibn Hanbal. In the beginning of the trial, Ma'mun, he died, and Muhammad ibn Nuh, he died while in prison. So now only one person was left in the ummah for that area that would hold firm. This is why when the great scholars later said that if it wasn't for two men, that nobody would be worshipping Allah. And two men that Allah used to preserve Islam: Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when the people were becoming murtad, and he stood the ummah firm, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, when this fitna had begun. So now you have one man, if he fell, if he gave in, if he sold out, if he was worried, then the ummah could have gone astray. Imagine, because me and you are going to be tested with this. You're going to want to stand firm on the Quran and Hadith. They're going to tell you, I'm going to label you Wahhabi, I'm going to label you a fundamentalist, I'm going to label you this, I'm going to label you that, an extremist, old-fashioned, out of date, I don't know, pick your poison, whatever we're going to label you. We're going to cancel you. We're going to not let you speak at the masajid. We're going to fire you from your imam job. We're going to this, we're going to that. You're going to face all this. If you want to have knowledge, and you want to implement knowledge, and you want to be a student of knowledge, and you want to take that knowledge, and you want to be a da'i, you will face it. So look at your salaf. Look at those before you as an example. Imam Ahmad, he was told, Mu'tasim, the next, he went through 4 khulafa. Ma'mun, Mu'tasim, Wathiq, and Mutawakkil. Look at the steadfastness of this man. Human being, not a Nabi, not a Sahabi. So he was told that Mu'tasim said, I will not put the sword to his neck. I will make it worse. I will have him whipped. Imam Ahmad said, pay attention to this quote. If you're in the back, I'm going to ask you to repeat it in a minute, so heads up. He said, I'm not afraid of death because I will meet my Rabb. What's better than that? Sometimes people tell you, they threaten you, I'm going to kill you. We get threats all the time, like in our masjid people call us, and we get little letters, you don't stop the dawah, we're going to kill you, Like, all right, great, Jazakallah khair, looking forward to it. Imam Ahmad said, I'm not afraid of death. Okay, I'll go back to Allah. I said, I'm not afraid of being imprisoned because the prison cell is like the same as my house. Allahu Akbar. His house was made with such zuhud, it was so simple that there was no difference between that and the prison cell to him. That's the people of zuhud. And even if we cannot be like them, we should strive. He said, but I was afraid of the fitna of the whip. Because Mu'tasim said, I'll have him whipped. And Mu'tasim asked the people, bring me somebody who whips hard. Now when you talk about being whipped, I want you to understand something. This is not like, when you mess around with your friends and you're like, no. These are whips that when they hit your body, they would rip your skin. And this man, who was an Abyssinian man, he came forward, he told the Khalifa that I have such a whip, and I hit so hard that 10 hits from my whip will kill an elephant. 10 whips would kill an elephant. Imagine you are being put to that. Today if I get put in secondary, I'm like, man, why me? Just because I got a beard, man, maybe I should just shave it, maybe I should change my name, 10 whips would kill a man. He said, I want you to continue to whip him. So Imam Ahmad, he said, you know, this is something that I didn't want. Like I didn't want to be whipped. He said, as I was in prison, and his son Salih, he mentions this. He said, a man came cutting through the prisoners. He said, where's Ahmad ibn Hanbal? Where's Ahmad ibn Hanbal? They went to Imam Ahmad. He said, are you Abu Abdullah? He said, yeah. He said, do you know I'm Abu Haytham? He told him, we don't know you. He said, I'm the biggest criminal in Baghdad. He said, you know, I have been whipped. It's different narrations in different kutub al-tarikh, but over 100 times altogether, and so on and so on. I have been whipped continuously for sins. And I was patient through them for sinful behavior. You are on the haqq. So don't let it falter. Don't be afraid. Be firm on it. Imam Ahmad said, Wallahi, nobody's words gave me more comfort than that criminal. Even though he was gangster from hood, but even them, they realized that aqeedah is something you don't play with. You stand firm on. So Imam Ahmad said, after that, I was not afraid of the whip. The first day, they had him, he was fasting in the day, they didn't feed him in the night, they had him carrying a big ball and chain like, you know, you see in the movies, but in reality, where he had to take his drawstring and wrap it to be able to lift it. They had him, you know, malnutritioned and no sleep, and they brought a whole committee to debate against him. And every time they would throw something, he would give them an ayah of the Quran, he would give them a hadith of Mustafa alayhi salatu salam, he would shut them up. They couldn't debate him. First day, they couldn't break him. Second day, they couldn't break him. Every time they would bring some falsafa or some mantiq or some philosophy or some kalam, he would say, no, I'm not going to respond to that. Bring me from the Quran, bring me a hadith, then I'll respond. I'm not going to debate with you on logic, because that's not what our deen is on. Our deen is qala Allah, qala Rasul, alayhi salatu salam. So the third day now, the debate goes on. The third day, he diminishes them, demolishes them. Ibn Abi Dawood, not Abu Dawood. Right? This is the Mu'tazili. His name was also Ahmad. He was the Qadi that was out to, and he put Imam Ahmad in the mihna. He tells the Khalifa, just have him killed. We can't debate him. So get violent. You know, this is how the kuffar are. You know, when they lose the debate, they just get violent. Like with Ibrahim alayhi salam and being thrown in the fire and so on, right? They can't debate. They don't have evidence. Even though they call us violent, but in reality it's them. So he said, just have him killed. He said, no. I took qasam, I'm not going to put him to the sword. He said, have him whipped. So he got that man that said that he would kill an elephant with how many hits? 10. He said, whip him. No qamis taken, tied, and they start to whip. Subhanallah. Each whip, when it hit, it ripped his skin. And he was whipped on the face. This is not a movie. It's not a drama. It's not Hollywood. Imagine, you know, they said, I was reading in Ibn Jawzi's works, they said that afterwards they had to take hooks and grab the skin on his face, have it lifted, cut, and cauterize with fire. Until his death, he had those scars on his face. Why? For money? For fame? For kingship? No, for that knowledge, to stand on it. For the aqeedah of Islam. He was whipped. 80 lashes. 80 lashes from somebody who could kill an elephant with 10. Subhanallah. And this is something you can find in the kutub of tarikh, not just made up stories. His izar, his loincloth, what lungi as they call it. As he was being whipped, the body shakes, it rips, it started to loosen. It was going to fall. And his hands were tied, but he made dua to Allah. He said, "Oh Allah, protect my awrah." He wasn't worried that he stopped from getting whipped. He wasn't worried, about being in prison. He said, "Oh Allah, don't expose my awrah." Now imagine that Imam in that situation, worried about his awrah. And look at our young men today who go out to play soccer and put those little skinny shorts on. You tell him, "Akhi, what are you doing?" The brother, the Maliki said, our sister is not worried about their hijab. What pressure do we have? What excuse will we have in front of Allah? Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, in that situation, he was worried about his awrah. He made dua to Allah. Mu'tasim, he was worried. He said, make sure he's not making dua against me. Like he even knew Imam Ahmad was that much on the haqq. And then 2 hands came out of the ground. We as people of Sunnah, it's not that we don't believe in karamat. We just don't believe in the fake stuff. What is authentically in history, we believe Allah supports His awliya. 2 hands came out of the ground and they grabbed his izar, so his izar wouldn't fall. At that time, Ibn Abi Dawud, he was worried. The Mu'tazili, he saw this clear miracle. So he went to Ahmad, he said, "Ahmad, just whisper it in my ear," because they had that ta'assub, they couldn't give up their partisanship, right? That madhabi mindset. So he went to his ear, he said, "Just say in my ear that the Quran is makhluk, and I'll talk to the Khalifa, I'll get you out. Just say it, just whisper it." Imam Ahmad told him, "Why don't you say in my ear that the Quran is ghair makhluk? It is not makhluk, it is kalam of Allah, so that I can be a witness for you to save you on the day of judgment. Don't worry about me in this judgment of dunya. Worry about your judgment in the akhirah." He went and he Ibn Kathir and others have narrated this. The next morning he called for Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He said, "Ahmad, call him." They called him. He said, "I saw a dream last night." Ahmad told him, "What did you see?" He said, "I saw that 2 angels came to me to protect me from 2 lions that were going to destroy me. 2 lions were attacking me. They were going to rip me to pieces, and 2 angels pushed them away. They protected me." He said, "And then they gave me something in writing." Imam Ahmad said, "When you woke up, did you have it?" He said, "Yes. When I woke up, I had that writing." He said, "What does it say?" He says that it said that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, on the day of judgment, Allah will raise him. Now imagine, the day of judgment, Allah will raise him. And Allah will ask him, "Oh Ahmad, why were you whipped?" Imagine that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Ahmad ibn Hanbal, "Why were you whipped? For what did you go through this hardship for?" Imam Ahmad will say, "Because I said the Quran are your words. This is your speech." He said, "Where did you hear that from?" He said, "I heard it from Abdul Razak Sanani." So he will be brought. And Allah will ask him, "The Razak, where did you hear that from?" He said, "I heard it from Ma'mar." They asked Ma'mar, Allah will question him, "Ma'mar, where did you hear that?" He said, "From Urwa." Urwa will be asked, "Where did you hear that?" He said, "From Aisha." Aisha radiyallahu anha is asked, "Where did you hear that?" "From Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam." He will be asked, "Where did you hear that?" He said, "From Jibreel." He will be asked, "Jibreel, where did you hear that?" "From Israfil." "Israfil, where did you see that?" "From Luhu," from the preserved tablet. The tablet will be asked, "Where did you get this?" He said, "From the qalam." The qalam will be asked, "Where did you get this?" He says, "Oh Allah, you are the one that ordered me to write this." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "The qalam has spoken the truth. The lahu has spoken the truth. Israfil has spoken the truth. Jibreel has spoken the truth. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has spoken the truth. Aisha radiyallahu anha has spoken the truth. Urwa has spoken the truth." Ma'mar has spoken the truth. Abdul Razak has spoken the truth. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, you have spoken the truth, will enter you into Jannah. And until you will see my wedge, you will see my face in Jannah. You will get that honor. Why? Because you stood firm on it. Mu'tasim after this had Imam Ahmad freed. And he was going to put the Mu'tazila to death. But Imam Ahmad forgave them. So my respected brothers and sisters in Islam, when you take knowledge, be careful where you take knowledge from. Take knowledge from the people of the Kitab, from the people of the Sunnah, the people that preserve that knowledge with the understanding and the methodology of the Salaf al-Ummah. When you take that knowledge of what is the Quran, what are the sifat of Rabbuna subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how do we understand them according to the way that the Sahaba did, according to the way of Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad and those Imma and Ulama, where they said, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sifat, and we believe them without likening them to any of the makhluk. We don't say like the makhluk, but we say yes, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He has a wajh, He has a wajh. If Allah says He has a yad, He has a yad. If on the arsh, we believe in this. We believe in the Quran being the words of Allah, غير makhluk. We believe the Quran is perfect. We believe in the preservation of the Quran as being perfectly preserved, word by word, letter by letter, qira'at bi qira'at, tajweed bi tajweed, makharij bi makharij. We believe in this. And no matter what professors at Yale University say, and no matter what anybody at the White House says, and nobody cares what Biden or Trump or Harris or whoever else says, this is our aqeedah, and we will stand on it. And we will, inshallah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be firm. We live on this and we die on this. And if we're in prison, as before us, we'll go to jail happily. As Taqiyuddin ibn Taymiyyah, Abu al-Abbas, Ahmad, he said, what can the kuffar do to me? If they imprison me, this is my khalwa with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they kill me, they'll make me from the shuhada. If they exile me, this will be my sightseeing in the world. This will be my, going out and seeing the world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nothing we keep in our chests. Nobody can take it from us. Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi, one of the great scholars of this ummah, he used to say that if the kings and the rich knew the pleasure that we have in our iman and our faith and our khushu and our salah, if they knew the contentment that we had in our hearts, they would fight us with swords for it. Because it's that valuable, but nobody can take it away from you. So we hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that these reminders will put us back on the path. All of us have a lot of options, and as time passes, the options will increase. Before, students used to take knowledge from teachers. And I'm not talking about 1,000 years ago. Right? When I was younger, not that I'm old yet, but I went to Emirat and I met with a sheikh there, and I wanted to study with him. He never asked me for money. Wallahi, I studied with him for more than a year every day, except Fridays was the day off, from Dhuhr until Maghrib. He used to give me this chunk of time. We used to pray Asr in his masjid and then continue the dars. And he never took a single penny, not a dirham, not a dinar, nothing from me. And he used to tell me that if you want to study with me, the rules are that you will study by what I tell you. You're not going to do it you're not going to tell me, teach me this. No, I'll tell you what you need to learn. Nowadays, Islam is like a buffet, You go and you're like, Sheikh, teach me Nahu. And not just Nahu, I want you to teach me Ajrumiyya. and then I want you to write me an ijazah in it. Here's some money, do it quick. And the Sheikh's like, Jazakallah khair, okay. You don't have to really study it. Just watch the videos and then just click, and then we'll just print you a certificate, Today people go to Islamic institutes to be entertained. We had somebody come to a masjid near us. I'm not going to mention the names of the masjid or the person, although I'm very tempted. And they did a 10-day intensive course on Arabic, Nahu and Sarf, Balagh. I was like, wow, 10 days, man, that's a lot to cover in 10 days. Muslims, Assalamu alaikum, and to you. In the end of the 10 days, I asked one brother, what did you learn? Because they charged him like 600 something bucks, He said, man, he said so many funny jokes, we were talking, and then he made this joke and that joke. And like, what did you learn in Nahu and Sarf? I don't remember, but and he was funny. Like, all right, I'm glad you got entertained. Man. My teacher used to be so strict about these things. We would sit from Dhuhr all the way to Asr, go pray Asr, come back from Asr to Maghrib. I couldn't stretch my feet. I couldn't yawn. Even if I was tired, I'd have to control it. If he saw me yawning, he would tell me, go home. If you're not serious, Shaykh, I'm just tired. No, go home. I'm like, okay. I wanted to buy Al-Mughni. Muwaffaquddin ibn Qudama, he wrote a book called Al-Mughni. I was really excited because I read from Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, not from Shaykh Abdulaziz ibn Baz. He said that the greatest book of fiqh ever written, when he was asked, he said, Al-Mughni by Ibn Qudama. I said, man, I gotta go get it. I told Shaykh, it's on sale, there's a print, I'm gonna go get it. He said, no. So what do you mean? He said, you're not ready for it. So it wasn't just like okay, I'm paying him, so he's my servant. No, he was the teacher. So he told me, no, you're not ready for it. Okay. Years later, he called me. I left the Emirat, he called me. He said, because I used to teach at that time, I used to put together little lessons on Umdatul Fiqh of Ibn Qudama. The PDFs are online somewhere still if you search it. And I used to send it to him for review. So he called me back and said, go buy Mughni now, you're ready. SubhanAllah, like that's the respect that they had. That's the honor that they had. He was a professor, my teacher himself. He was a professor, I'm not going to mention the university. And they changed their methodology. So they said, you cannot teach these ayats that talk about qital. From now on, when you teach fiqh books, skip over these. He said, no. They told him, we'll fire you. He said, okay. I quit. Walked out. Never compromised. Never watered down Islam. So now you're going to have a lot of options going forward. You're going to have a cultural option, or you're from this country, you should study this because you're from this country. You're going to have a modern option. We're going to teach, but we're going to have the brothers and sisters, at the barbecue together, learning fiqh. Sheikh, what's the fiqh take for their husband, wife? Allah. We had one Shaykh come, they asked him, what are the rights of a woman? He said, whatever she wants. He said, that's the answer they're looking for, I'm just going to give it to them, whatever they want. You're going to get the option of those that just give you a lot of opinions and no answer. There's a video of a Shaykh talking about the beard. Somebody asked him, what's the hukm on the beard? He said, well, there is an opinion that is this, an opinion that is this, and an opinion that is this, and an opinion that is this, and this madhab says this, and this madhab says that, and this Shaykh took this opinion, this. End of video. So what am I supposed to do? Oh, whatever you want. Take whatever opinion. Take whatever. It's like a buffet. Take what you like. No, that's not the way Islam works. Islam, knowledge is taken from the scholars with evidences, without these things that came later in the ummah, like trying to justify Aristotle's rules into Islamic aqeedah and all these things. Without all of that, sticking to the way it was. The Sahaba, they taught tafsir. Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, he used to teach, they said 1,600 students learned Quran from him, and in every ayah he would explain it to them. Mujahid and Ata and others, they studied from the Sahaba like Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. They said every ayah, they used to give us the meaning and the understanding of it. The Sahaba and the Tabi'un, they used to teach fiqh. You know, sometimes when you talk about mantiq and kalam, they say, well, what about usul al-fiqh? Of course, they had usul al-fiqh. They didn't learn usul al-fiqh from the Greek. You know, they had, of course, they taught. When they said Rasulullah made Hajj like this, he made Qasr like this, when they made Qiyas based on these for the new situations that came up during their times. For example, when Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu sent the Muslim armies to Persia. Now Rasulullah had passed away, but they saw the celebration of Nowruz. Who knows what Nowruz is? Huh? I'm just trying to find somebody who I think knows and is not raising their hand to pick on them, but alright. You kind of know what Nowruz is? It's a fire worshipping New Year. Yeah, they jump over the fire and burn their, anyway, never mind. So, you know, it's the official holiday in the un-Islamic Republic of Iran. So, Nowruz, no, I'm serious, it's a fire worshipping holiday. Why would you make that an official holiday? I mean, right? This was celebrated in Persia from the Persian days, meaning from the Zoroastrian days, the Majus, the fire worshipping days. Umar ibn Khattab, there's a book in his time when they went there, he told them, and Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu himself forbid these practices. And they said, because when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not allow any new bid'ah, and when he came to Medina, when he saw them celebrating their days, he forbid us from that. He told us Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. Because of that, we don't celebrate any of these. This is qiyas. They taught us fiqh. They taught us hadith. They taught us how to check hadith. Would you believe that? The Sahaba taught us how to check hadith. I'll give you dalil on it. Yeah? Abu Musa al-Ashari radiyan came to see Umar ibn Khattab. When Umar ibn Khattab radiyan was the Khalifa. He knocked on his door. And when he knocked on his door, Umar radiyan was busy. So he knocked once, he knocked twice, he knocked 3 times, and he walked away. Umar radiyan said, well, who was that? He says, Abu Musa al-Ashari. He said, where did he go? He said, he knocked 3 times left. He said, call him back. He's an honored Sahabi. Why did he leave? He told him, why did you leave? He said, because I heard Rasulullah saying, and this is what I learned, is if you knock 3 times and the person doesn't answer, then you leave. Umar radiyan said, bring your evidence. Where is your shahid for this dalil? You know, takhrij of hadith, and he was checking, telling him. And if you don't, then I'll punish you. Because people shouldn't just say, Abu Musa al-Ashari got scared. You know? Like today, when somebody quotes a mawdu' hadith, we tell them, where did you get this? He says, oh, Wahhabi ho gaya yaar. The hadith is not just for Wahhabis, no? Right? So, Umar radiyan told him, go. So he saw a bunch of Ansar. He told them, did you guys hear this? He said, yes. He said, come with me to Umar. I'm afraid he's going to punish me. They came to the Umar, the Ansar. They said, Umar, we heard this. Why would you doubt him? He said, Wallahi, Abu Musa, I didn't doubt you. But I wanted to set a precedence that people don't just start saying whatever. They don't just say, Buzurgun ne kaha hai. You know, they don't just start saying anything and ascribing it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To make sure that when you say the Prophet said something, you're sure that he said it. I want to set that example, the checking of hadith done by Sahaba radiyallahu. So this is why we learn that knowledge in accordance to the way of those beautiful generations, not in new ways. We don't need a modern Islam. We don't need a new Islam. We don't need anybody to be telling us how the Quran was or wasn't preserved. We have ijma of this ummah. We have the consensus of the Muslim ummah on these things. We will stand firm on it by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us from those that are uncompromising, that are unwavering in our aqidah about the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the Quran, about ahadith, about Rasul alayhi salatu salam, about the Sharia, taking that example from the likes of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. We stand firm on it by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Sorry for speaking longer than I expected, but inshallah we'll break now. 6 minutes for questions, inshallah. You get your chance now, otherwise I'm going to go online. They always got questions. So
actually, question and answers now, and then after that break and then prayer.
Okay, inshallah. So we'll do questions, answers. We'll bring the shuyukh to answer the questions, inshallah. Fadlu Shaykh. Shaykh. I'm not answering if you're not coming up. Inshallah. If there is any questions online, check the comments. Maybe the moderators can pin it as well. We'll take some as well, inshallah.
They're here to assist.
Khalas, Sheikh, they're here for you. We're just the excuse. Yes. Go ahead.
Inshallah, we'll have question and answer for the shuyukh. We're going to set some rules for the question and answers. The Shaykh Hafidhullah, he mentioned, when you ask questions, make sure it's a question. You don't want to ask questions where you're making a lecture of your own, inshallah. So make sure you ask beneficial questions, and questions that people can benefit from, and something that we can all learn from, inshallah. And inshallah, keep the questions, inshallah, something that is beneficial. Jazakallah khair.
Fadal Habib. If you don't mind, you choose the hands. Yeah? No, we want you to be the bad guy, but you go ahead first.
Sheikh or Sheikhs, can you advise us, especially Shabab who's getting into like the financial world, can you advise us on the situation of credit cards and what we should do in this situation when we're first starting to make money and how to navigate this situation?
He said Sheikh Ibrahim.
Alhamdulillah, we're here to listen to the Mashaykh. With the credit cards and these issues, just to be very brief, inshallah, just to go an extra step to understand any financial transaction that you get yourself into, you have to define it, you have to understand what it is. Put aside what they say, but what is actually it. So when you're charging a credit card, you're taking a loan, right? This is how things are. You're taking a loan, and then you're given a time where either you pay it at the end of the month, or you're going to pay riba. That's how it's called, riba. And you sign a contract, you agree to this. So that's definitely, this is haram, there's no question about it whatsoever. I'm not talking about the debit cards, I'm talking about the credit cards. Debit card, if it takes directly from your account, that's different. But when you're using a credit card, you are agreeing that you're taking a loan with the condition, even if you pay at the end of the month, that's fine, but that's what the riba of Jahiliyyah was. That they would not charge interest from the first day you take the loan. They will give you a time, a year for example. After the year, either that you pay or you want to turbi, that means you would have an increase if you didn't pay it in full. So they were even more decent when it comes to, there's no decency in riba, but they used to be less than how things are. So this is in brief, inshallah. Any more detailed of financial situations, you need to ask, for one of the mashayikh and to explain the matter in details, because it's different from one situation to the other.
Go ahead.
While prayer, is it okay to close my eyes? While prayer, is it okay to close my eyes while praying, or they should be open?
Regarding the issue of closing the eyes while praying, the sunnah is that you keep the eyes open. And where you look during the salah, there are ahadith on this, meaning Rasulullah used to look at the place of sujood, for example, and then ahadith about looking at the finger in tashahhud. So Rasulullah didn't close his eyes in salah. So sunnah is you keep your eyes open. You look at the place of sujood, you look at the finger in tashahhud, and so on. And in the fiqh durus, we give up each position where you look and the dalil and all of that. Ibn al-Qayyim, for example, says that if there is a momentary distraction and you close your eyes to kind of keep your khushu', this is permissible. Ibn al-Qayyim gives the example, if there is a spouse who's in the house and she's dressed in a way that takes the attention of the spouse, even though it's halal, but because you're making salah, if that distraction comes and you close your eyes for a minute to keep your khushu', this is permissible. But regularly you keep your eyes open in salah, looking at the places which Rasul ﷺ used to look in salah.
So I just want to know what's how there's the first kalima, the second kalima. I want to know what Islam says about that, because I know there's a lot of people out there that makes you memorize them and stuff like that. So I want to know what's the actual Islamic reason behind that.
I was going to have Sheikh Karim, but because this is something us Indian Pakistanis have, Bengalis included, have innovated, so I'll take care of this one. The 6 kalimas that we are taught, I mean, I was never taught because I wasn't raised in Pakistan, but as people in India, Pakistan, and I think Bangladesh, possibly Afghanistan are taught, ulama basically found like things that were good statements. Some of them are from hadith, like the first kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, second kalima, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And then other ones, even the formation is not from hadith. There's nothing wrong with the wording, but they kind of make this for little kids to memorize. Kind of like a little cheat sheet, you know. But unfortunately, it grew to a level where people think this is part of the religion. Like the 5 pillars and 6 pillars of Iman, which are mentioned in the hadith of Jibreel. So obviously those are, right? Like that, people made it as if this is like something called out in the Quran. And some of the kalimas there, out of the 6, even the wording is not from hadith or ayat. Nothing wrong, like they're not like shirky words or anything. But it's best not to do such a thing that I mean, I had a debate, I don't know if some of you may have seen it, where some of the Christian apologists brought that against us. You know, when I told them what 6 kalimas, they were like, we got you, as if, this is something from the Quran that we don't know. So in that sense, these things are not needed. And if somebody was just doing it to teach their kids good words, that would be fine. But when it becomes so structured that it becomes a bid'ah, that most people will know that over knowing the basics of the Quran. Like little kids in India, Pakistan, they will know the 6 kalimas, but if you ask them how many surahs in the Quran, sometimes they don't know. So in that sense, we should leave these things, stick to the authentic things that are in the Quran, in Sahih Ahadith, and so on.
Is there any proof where Isa a.s. is the Messiah except the Quran?
Well, I'll take this one too, I guess. Sorry. Is there any proof that Isa a.s. is al-Masih except the Quran? Of course there is. In the Quran he's called Masih. In Ahadith he's called Masih. In Christian scripture he's called Masih. In the Christian scriptures others are called Masih as well. So there's definitely proof. But why do we need any other proof other than the Quran? If we have an ayah of Quran, khalas, we don't need any more. But yes, there is. And if you're on TikTok, send your questions as well. We're being gracious enough to do it. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question is, there is a debate going in the Indian subcontinent regarding the methodology of the Salaf. Some of the people, they say that we can take the knowledge from the people of innovation. They give the example that Hafiz ibn Hajar, Imam ibn Hazm, and Imam Nawawi, they were in the matter of Asma Sifat, they were somewhat lenient to the So none of the Ahlul Sunnah, they made the tea on them. So why don't we take knowledge from them?
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Subhanallah, this question is going around the Muslim world, and it's old new. It's not something that, there is a difference between a living scholar and someone who passed away. A scholar who passed away, who was knowing of his knowledge, but he had some mistakes here and there, we still take the good part because it is already distinguished, the good from the bad. But the living one, who is mixing the good with the bad, you don't know what he's giving you. So that is the major difference here. Yes, Ibn Hajar, Al-Asqalani, because you need to understand this, the isma, the infallibility, is exclusive to the prophets and the messengers. I could make a mistake, Sheikh Uthman could make a mistake, Sheikh Ibrahim could make a mistake. There is nothing human, but the question here is when you're presented with the evidence that this is a mistake and you insist on your position instead of correcting it and rectifying it, that's where the difference is. Yes, they had some statements, especially when it comes to the names and the attributes, but again, they passed away. So we just leave this alone and we take the other knowledge from them. But the living ones, no. No. Even if you look at the fabric of the hadith, the san'at al-hadith, sometimes a very famous narrator, for example, towards the end of his life, his memory would be defective. He's not as strong in hifz. I think they call him, the terminology, اختلط.
No.
Yeah, اختلط. He's mixing. You know, his family members, I think 𝙀𝙢𝙖𝙞𝙀, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of them. His daughter put him inside the house and prevented him from going out. Why? Because she was afraid that when he goes out and narrates the hadith now, everybody's going to recognize that his hadith is mixed up. So all the previous hadith which he narrated when he was strong in memory would also be what?
Weakened.
Weakened as well. Someone who is living, that's a statement which Abdullah ibn Mas'ud made. What did he say, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? من كان مستنا فليستنى بمن قد مات فإن الحي لا تؤمن عليه الفتنة. If you want to follow the footsteps of somebody, just make sure that you follow the footsteps of someone who died, because the living, especially is known. You tell me there are over 60 authors who try to explain Sahih Bukhari. Over 60. But the one that stands out is who?
Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani.
Fath al-Bari, Ibn Hajar. He's not perfect. The man, he never claimed that he's perfect. But I know the good side and the few mistakes that he made. I put this aside and I honor and I respect him. If you want to add, Sheikh Ibrahim, Sheikh.
I do just have a question with it, and this is not for you really, it's more of a rhetorical question. What work did Ibn Hajar write in Aqidah? No. I'm just, as I said, it's not a debate with you. I'm just explaining a point. Okay? Ibn Hazm, An-Nawawi, Ibn Hajar, the scholars that you mentioned, can anybody here name one of their works that's written specifically in Aqidah? You see? Like, these are not ulama that we're going to go and learn Aqidah from. Right? If Iqad Muwaffaq Ibn Qudama, he wrote this in Aqidah. Right? Sharh As-Sunnah al-Barbahari in Aqidah. Right? As-Sunnah, Kitab As-Sunnah, Usul As-Sunnah, Imam Ahmad, his son, in Aqa'id. Al-Tahawi, for example, Aqidah Al-Tahawiyah, yes, right? So, Ibn Hajar, when we go to him, we actually are going to him to understand the context of hadith when it comes to Fath al-Bari, as he mentioned. And if we go to Nukhbat al-Fikr, this is Mustalah al-Hadith, al-Suyuti even, for example, these are works that are dedicated to a different field even, right? So it's not a blanket, you just go and you're like, okay, go and study the Aqidah works of An-Nawawi. Nobody does that, right? So when they are writing in a different field and they make some mistakes, then the teacher points out those mistakes. If you want perfection, then other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have nobody that's perfect. Yeah? But the people have tried to misconstrue this as if we're like studying Mutun from Ibn Hazm in Aqidah. We're not. You go to Muhalla, it's a sharh of another book that's mostly about fiqh and so on. So everything should be in context as well. Go ahead.
I have children, they are married, they're
Barakallah.
They are in different part of the states. When they come down home, when they learn their shiur or their Maulana or their whatever they put into the masjid, they're learning a different ways, different things. When they come down home and they debating themselves, my sheikh said this, and I have a proof of this hadith. And the other one says, no, I have a proof of this hadith, but my sheikh this thing. Recent, the last Eid, they are in the 5-day home. All the kids are home. One is doing the Eid in one day, and second one is doing the So what do I do about those? That if you in the same home, same people,
Yes.
same father, same mother, same siblings, and they are doing two Eids in the same way. Not only the Eid, I'm talking about a different
I get it.
Eids.
So the question, just to be clear, especially for those online, is that may Allah bless our brother. He said his children are all professionals in different parts of the country, and they're in masajid when they Eid, they have ikhtilaf, they have differences, and each one has their own shuyukh and their own evidences, to the point that in the same house they're celebrating Eid on 2 different days, right? The first thing is, and this is general, and you should advise your children. Weigh everything with the Quran and the Sunnah. Opinions don't matter. My Shaykh and my Maulana and my country and my and the right? Generations. It's very easy to look at whether a hadith is established or not. Having said all that, Rasulullah the father and your community Eid on one day, that somebody goes and prays by themselves the next day or something like this. This is wrong, right? We revise what our leaders according to Quran Hadith have established, meaning that even if the Khalifa makes a decision, possibility be when Uthman radiyan was making 4 and he saw Rasulullah make rak'atayn, but Uthman radiyan had his ijtihad. Obviously he thought himself to be muqim and so on. So if opinion on the Quran and Hadith in your house, and you're the father, you are the head of the household, that's the decision that should be made. When your children come to your house, then you, if the, yeah, in the end, you should take knowledge from somebody as a household. Like you're in Chicago, I've solved it for you. Okay? You come easy.
Okay, so one question is, you said if I'm in a wheelchair, can I lead for salah?
Humbly, I think you have to all sit then, unless he's sending.
But also briefly, inshallah, when it comes to sitting for the imam, if the imam starts the salah sitting, then everyone behind him, they have to start the salah sitting. But if the imam starts the salah standing, and then he sits right after that, that means the ma'moom will start the salah standing, and then they should continue standing. So in the case that he's in a wheelchair, and it happens to be that he is the imam or no one else to lead, and it's fard the salah, then they pray behind him, sitting from the beginning to the end of the salah, because he started the salah while sitting. And this is brief without going into details. And one thing also, just going back to the previous question, because we have in Chicago the issues of, especially with Eid, and we talked about that before clearly, that this matter should not cause disunity among the community, because the two opinions that are followed are still authentic opinions and valid opinions. But the issue here that we don't have authorities, and this is only unique in the US. Again, if you're from Pakistan or Egypt or anywhere, tomorrow's Eid. Doesn't matter what you think. But because here we don't have this type of religious authority, these things is a reality. It's not yes, we don't like that. We should all together and make things. But if it happened, it doesn't cause and should not cause us to be disunited and being angry with each other and things of that nature.
Barakallah.
So the other question is, I have a question that I was asked, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, be and it is, why did it take 6 days to create heaven?
That's a classical question. Well, I mean, I think the online question is why did it take 6 days to create the heavens and the earth, right? Subhanallah, one of the wisdoms is to teach us patience. That here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is able to do everything by the command be, and yet He is creating the earth in 6 days. And by the way, when we say 6 days, we're actually saying 6,000, right? وَإِنَّ يَوْمًا عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ كَأَلْفِ سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. A day with Allah is about 1,000 what you count. All of it be taken into consideration. Also to reveal the magnitude of this creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَخَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أكبر من خلق الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. The creation of the heavens and the earth is way greater than your creation. أأنتم أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها. Are you mightier, stronger in creation? Allah is addressing the human. All of these are wisdoms, and inshallah the mashayikh have more to add. Please.
Any? Go ahead. Wa alaikum assalam.
There are some so-called Islamic financial institutions. They offer financing, but they have late fees, and this is kind of called riba. And I live in Iran, and there is also late fee. For me, is it better to get the loan and get done with it like in 10 years rather than being on the rent for, I don't know, for how many years?
No, I'm just going to comment on something and you take the question.
You comment, you take share.
No. So you want to disobey Allah for just 10 years and after that you're going to be okay?
No, I mean, both are the contracts with the late fees. That's like I'm into it. It's not like I'm going to take it. That's just what...
yeah, but I'm just being like the other option that you have. Okay, oh Allah, I'm going to take a usury-based loan, so disobey you for 10 years, and then after that I will be good to go. Is that the psychology, I mean, that you have? Or, I mean, that's what you think?
Not you, but the
not
question.
You, but the question.
But being on, like, what I was thinking.
We'll deal with the late fees, but is that the psychology that we're dealing with? Like, okay, because both are having these issues?
Yeah, both are having the same issue. Yeah. Like, one is like temporary, and the other one like can go like for.
Okay.
That's what interests me.
Yeah, go ahead, Sheikh Hoffman. I just wanted to.
Take it.
No, you're good, please.
So to be clear, riba and late fees are not the same thing. Okay? For example, if you pay rent and you pay rent on time, do you pay any riba? No. Okay. Let's say you buy a house from me or I buy a house from you. You're, mashallah, baller. So, right? And I tell you, hey, I don't have the money. No riba. I'll pay you 100,000, 100,000 pretty cheap. Never, $1 million, Lombard, or not South Chicago, right? So $1 million house, I'll pay you 500,000 up front, and then I'll pay you 10,000 a month until I finish it. No riba, this is it, right? Now this is halal, no doubt that there is. You didn't raise the price for anything. Perfect, right? Same thing with renting. Me and you have a rental contract. I pay my rent on time. We're good. Now if you go to riba, you go to a bank, may Allah protect you, or you go to some of these Islamic institutes, whatever, that are still banks, right? Even if you pay everything on time, you're going to pay riba. Okay? Go ahead.
But there is no riba, they increase the price?
No, that is riba. The increase in the price is the riba. right?
I mean, there is a set of price.
Yes. Okay.
Set
So
up-
if I was to buy that house at that time, it would be a different price, right?
For the cash only?
Yes. So the higher price, the extra money is for what?
The installment.
This is your riba. See, you can hold your ear from here, or you can hold your ear from here. You're holding your ear, right? In the end, you're making money off paying later. There is no reason for that, right? Now, if you were going to sell the house to me for $1 million today, and you will sell it for $1 million if I pay you in 10 years, fine, no problem. But if you say $1 million, and there is, again, shuyukh know there is khilaf on the issues, I'm not going into the depth and discussions, just giving you the basics, right? In a riba-based contract, whether they hide the word riba or not, there is always an interest additional payment just for the installments. And that in itself is the riba. Okay? So it's not the same. Now late fees, there is entire fiqh abwab written on it. There are times where you can charge a late fee because you are putting an undue hardship on somebody else, right? Let's say I give you my car as a rental and you're supposed to give it back to me the next day and then you keep it. Now here, I'm not charging you extra for installment. You are not fulfilling your bargain and you're taking up time that I would be using it somewhere else. That's a different issue. Late fees, and again, we don't have time to go into depth. In my masjid, I did a whole thing on this once. There are times where there are riba and there are times where there are jais. And ulama have written on this issue. But those two are not the same in the examples you gave, right? When you're paying rent on time and you're late on your rent, that is different than somebody who makes an agreement where you are additionally increasing the money, making money on nothing, basically for installments, no matter what. In a riba-based contract, no matter what, they will charge. Now, fun fact, in America, every one of those installment-based plans have to have riba. All these banks that are, we are against riba, la riba, no riba, and this and that. And then they're like, here is the legal contract that says your interest rate on it. And then here is your illegal contract that means nothing, that says it's profit. It's a game, right? And we don't want to play games, right? Now, I'm not saying you should rent forever, right? Be creative, find ways. Look, I don't know how far Detroit is from Chicago, but I think it's not as far as it is from San Diego, right? Detroit, I know a brother, he bought a house for $10,000, right? Now, you don't want to live there because you probably don't own a bulletproof vest, but, you know, or you might, I don't know you like that, right? But you can buy it, fix it up, sell it. I know a brother who did this. He bought 3 units, fixed them up, made, you know, 20, 30,000 per unit. Then he took all that money together, and then he bought a good house in Virginia, right? Which is not an easy place to buy without interest. Okay? So be creative. Buy a piece of land, cash. Okay, you have that land. Save money, you have some money, just put a foundation. Save money, put a couple of rooms. You don't want to live in it, rent it out. Save the rent, build on it. It'll take you less time than a riba-based contract. You know, most contracts are 30 years. You tell somebody, brother, who's going to wait that long? Brother, you 30 years you've been... Let me just show you something. You have your phone? Good. Well, no, you do it. I don't want to see your... If you're not subscribed to my channel, I'm going to get offended, man. No, I'm just kidding. Take your calculator out. What's the average house in Lombard? 5. No, it's not. This is a nice neighborhood. I think it's more than that. 900,000? 5? That's not bad. You know, San Diego is about 800,000 for a median house right now, and they're not as nice as these, so wow, I might move. Sorry. All right. So put 500,000. Let's go with that, right? You put it times 0.0. What's a good rate? 7%, 5%, 7. Put 7 equals
45.
30 times 12. Oh no, sorry, times 30. Wait, no.
1,050,000.
No, hold on, no. Yeah, 1,050,000. Now add your 500,000 back.
1.5.
So the medium house here on riba is how much? 550,000. 1.5 million above. So $500,000, the riba you pay on it is over $1 million. in 30 years. Right? So think about that. And I'm not even going to compound interest, I'm not going to balloon payments, I'm not going into any of that, right? And you pay your riba first, then your principal, right? So the reality is that using riba, you end up paying 3 times the price, right? So people don't think about that. So when we say, hey, be creative, do this, brother, who's going to wait? 30 years you're waiting. Now, 29 years you make your payments. Last year, may Allah protect you, you get sick. You're not able to make your payments. What happens? They take your house. They take your credit. They take all your money. How much do they give you? They take your wife because she leaves you for having no credit. Right? You can't get a cell phone anymore because you don't have credit. And then you are under a bridge, and I hope not in Chicago because December gets pretty rough for homeless here, right? This is the reality of the slave system that they're putting us in with riba.
Inshallah, can we pray Isha? So that for those who are just coming for the Salah, and then after Salah, if the Shuyukh permit, inshallah, we can continue the questions and answers. And we have also the pizzas in the back, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar.
So let's make adhan.
Is it Chicago style pizza?